Have you ever been the company cuck? What I mean by the company cuck is, have you ever been that guy as an employee who can't say no? Anything that they ask of you, absolutely, yes sir. I need you to stay back 2 hours, yes sir. I need you to come in on Sunday, yes sir. I will cancel my plans, absolutely, anything. A very agreeable nature to who you are as an employee at a particular place of work. I mean, I was kind of that guy when I was a bit younger, like whenever I was asked if I could work overtime, it was always yes. Even though, I didn't really need the money, I was already tired, but I always just said yes because I didn't want to disappoint people. I didn't want to be that guy that is a letdown. It makes me think of the movie. It's called The Other Guys. It has Mark Wahlberg and also Will Ferrell in it. And when I think of the term company cuck, I think of Will Ferrell's character in that movie. All the way cheering on someone else, like someone else is always the hero. Instead of actually having some balls and actually being like the hero yourself. It's almost like just like a spineless. It's almost like you are so nice that it is just complete weakness. And yeah, like you are so invested in the team and the company and whatnot, is that like you put all of that stuff like before your very own self-respect. And I think that's when it becomes a bit of an issue. Well, if you haven't already noticed, if you get on SR and you develop a higher sense of self, a higher self-image, like I think that you will change in that regard. And that is something that I think that you should embrace. Now, SR, in many ways, I haven't really seen or heard many people talk about this, but I'm starting to think that SR makes you, I wouldn't say a bad employee, but it makes you into an uncontrollable employee. I'm struggling to find like the exact word I'm looking for here, and this has nothing to do with like your actual work ethic. It has more to do with how submissive are you? How much do you appeal to authority? Yeah, I think that is kind of where I'm getting at. How much do you ask for permission to do something? Do you have a spine? Do you know where to draw the line between how you are happy to be treated as an employee? Now, like respect and being liked, it can sometimes go hand in hand, but in other ways, it really doesn't. Like you have to, it is like a mutually exclusive concept. Like you have to choose one, right? If you had a boss that was like, oh, I need you to come in on Saturday, we don't have anyone else to come in, and you say, oh no mate, I can't do that, sorry. Like, and you don't really give any bullshit excuse, you're just like, oh no. Like they're probably not going to like you, but I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that they will respect it because, like you are basically saying to them that, like you don't have the power to persuade me into doing something that I don't want to do myself, Yeah, I can recall at my last job, it died down for a while, and the bosses were trying to get people to take their annual leave because it was getting pretty quiet, and it was on short notice too. And the boss, like he came up to me and was like trying to sweet talk me into taking my annual leave, like literally, like right now. Like absolutely no notice, just like, if you can get out of here, that would be great. Like that type of thing. And I basically said, oh no, I'm not taking it now because I'd like to take my annual leave on my terms. I don't want to take it on your terms, because if I'm taking it on your terms, it means that it isn't really mine. Is it to use? I just straight up said like, no, I'm not taking it now. And he was like, oh, okay. Like he wasn't happy about it, but I think he respected it. And another thing, like I don't take any sick days. So in my mind, I'm already forfeiting all of my sick leave, and by that time I had accrued like heaps. And on top of that, if I don't have the right to then choose on my own terms, like when I take annual leave, then like, why am I even permanent here? Like I may as well be casual. And that's what I said to him. Like if I don't have the ability to do it on my own terms, then I may as well be casual, because hey, I'd be getting paid more anyway on casual. So yeah, like that is just an example of one time where I was just like, oh no, mate, not happening. However, if you were that guy that was like, oh yep, yes sir, don't, absolutely not a concern in the world, and you say yes every single time, they are always going to come to you. Like, and that might be what you want. Like perhaps like you want the extra money, but I'm sure that there are probably weekends that like you have plans and you're like, oh, I really can't do it. But still, like if you can't say no and you don't have a spine, like you'll just say, okay, yes sir, I will cancel that family get together. I will cancel going out to lunch with my girlfriend. I will cancel this. I will cancel that. And that is what I mean by the company cuck. Someone who buys into the vision, like it's, instead of actually seeing it for what it is and just being like, okay, I'm here, I'm just a pawn, I'm just a cog in the system, like if they have a reason to get rid of me, they probably will, I mean, especially in this day and age, I reckon like 20 or 30 years ago, like I reckon the company cuck I reckon they would be rewarded, you know? However, these days it's just a cutthroat. If you can't serve me, then I don't want you, like, type of thing. Do you feel like you are just a number at your workplace? And I think that most people can probably agree that, yeah, I probably am. I only get spoken to, or I only get acknowledged if I've done something wrong. You know, like, it's never like, hey mate, how are you going today? You know, like, I'd like to know more about you since you are working here. It's never about that. It's more about, I need you to do this. You know, like, do this, do this, do this. You know, like, and that's fine. Like, you're getting paid for it. But, like, the thing is that in the pursuit of greed, you know, as far as, like, numbers and achieving targets, in the pursuit of that, intersocial dynamics within the workplace, you know, it takes a hit, right? Like you kind of have to choose. Okay, like, do you want everyone to love what they are doing? And do you want everyone to feel like they are valued and acknowledged? Or do you just care about how much profit can we generate in this month? I mean, so many places, like, the turnover is just absolutely insane. You know, if you start there 1 week and then 2 weeks later, like, there's already like five other guys that have started after you. Like even though, like, you've only been there like for 2 weeks, you know, like, it's like, how quickly are people just leaving, or just, you know, like, it can be brutal out there. It can be. If you don't want to be seen as the company cuck, right? It's all good to do your job, like, properly. You know, like, that is great. You know, like, do what makes you feel like you have achieved something. However, don't let it get to a point where you value whatever the company wants over whatever you want, because that leads to them, like, for one, like, they won't respect you, and two, you yourself, like, a lot of pent-up resentment will start to brew inside you, and you will lose any type of satisfaction that you have in your job. And I think if you are doing something for 40 to 50 hours a week, you know, like, pretty much all day, like, I think it's important to somewhat enjoy what you're doing. I mean, I know that not many people can honestly say that they enjoy what they do. However, I'm sure that those people, if they were doing that same job, however, they were surrounded by people that they loved, people that cared about them, people that had their back, I am sure that their motivation, it would be up there. Even though, like, the actual job itself, you know, sucks. In many ways, like, the people that you are around, it kind of determines how much you like the job. So yeah, I think a person that has any type of self-respect, you know, like, you're not going to be a good employee in the sense that you are not going to be agreeable, like all of the time. If it is something that you think is important, then yeah, like you'll be agreeable, but like you aren't going to be that guy that has the mentality of like, the boss is always right, I'm always wrong. Like that just doesn't fly with you. Because like if you were doing that, like you'd feel like you'd be disrespecting yourself, and that is something that like it won't happen. Try to elevate yourself out of that of that label or that role of being the company cuck, because at the end of the day, like business is a cutthroat. Yeah, if they have any reason to get rid of you, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how much of those weekends that you sacrificed, like all of those plans that you put to the side because like you wanted to be a reliable employee. At the end of the day, if the place goes broke, like unfortunately you are on the table to getting just chuffed off, like, and that's okay. Like that is what you expect. But I think what I'm trying to say is, if you don't put yourself first, like no one else is going to put you first, right? So in a way, like you have to look out for yourself and be like, am I taking care of myself? Am I taking care of the company first and me second? Like you may be coming from a place of being selfless, and that's great. However, if you are doing that to someone that has sociopathic traits, they are just going to exploit you for all that you are worth. It can be brutal, but it is something that you have to try to think about, is that, okay, do I want to be taken advantage of? And I hope that the answer is no.